Talking a lot of quarterbacks today, and we're going to find out what the first impression Sam Darnold is making in Carolina. What's more important for the Panthers' offensive success? Is it a healthy Christian McCaffrey, or is it Sam Darnold establishing himself as a starting caliber signal caller? Julian Coucil, Locked On Panthers. He's going to join us here on the Locked On NFL podcast. But look, we've got NFL football this week, and that means we have NFL betting action. The Pittsburgh Steelers, betonline.ag right now, 1.5-point favorites over the Cowboys. Thursday night's Hall of Fame game. You want that action? The fastest, easiest way to do that, bet online. Baseball season also in full swing. You saw all the trade deadline moves. You want to get some action on the Mets, maybe the Cubbies, bet against them. You can find that. Bet online. Get all the latest news, odds, and info for all your sporting needs, including Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, and of course, UFC, MMA action before the next pitch. Head over to Bet Online on your laptop, mobile device. Check out all the great sporting news. Sign-up bonuses. Yeah, we have a sign-up bonus right now. Welcome bonus. If you head over to the website on your cell or your laptop, sign up today, receive a 50% welcome bonus. So if you put in $100, you get $50 free to play around with. Build your stack before the NFL season on your first deposit. Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts. It is the Locked On NFL podcast. It's Bo Brack. We're talking a lot of quarterbacks today. We talked to Carson Wentz. We went over the injury with Evan Sidery of Locked On Colts. Who could replace the former second overall pick? Check out that video on YouTube. Also, the brewing quarterback battle in New England between Cam Newton and Mac Jones. We talked to Mike Debate. Check out that video as well. Let's talk to the franchise where Cam is currently the GOAT quarterback, Carolina. We're joined by the host of Locked On Panthers. Our guy Julian Coucil joins us here on the Locked On NFL podcast. And Julian, thanks for joining us. I got to ask you, what's the first impression so far of quarterback Sam Darnold? What's he making as far as impressions with his new teammates?
It seems to be that everyone on the team loves him, loves his competitive nature, thinks that he absolutely will one day be kind of the franchise here in Carolina. He can be a leader. He's not necessarily the most rah-rah vocal guy. He lets his play speak for itself. So that seems to be kind of the thoughts around everyone so far within the Carolina Panthers organization, whether it's the head coach, Matt Rule, the general manager, Scott Fitterer, or just the players.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I kind of chuckled when I saw your tweet last week about Sam Darnold. I think you're spot on with this. I'll read it for our podcast listeners. Would it be asking too much if I asked you all to not to turn every Sam Darnold snap into a referendum on whether he's the answer at quarterback or not, at least for the first few months? I'm just trying to look out for the sanity for everyone involved. It's only July. We have a long way to go, and I think you're exactly right. Can we just have like a moratorium right now on whether or not he's the guy or not?
Yeah, it would be nice. I think going back to OTA minicamp, you always have the beat reporters there doing a fantastic job kind of giving the play-by-play. And anytime there was some sort of interception, the entire Twitter timeline freaks out. And he was pretty up and down, apparently, back at OTA's minicamp. And then so far in training camp, it's just kind of like, they're in shells. It's not like they're out there actually going live right now. We'll see them getting pads on Tuesday. But apparently last night, the whole back together again NFL gimmick that we got going around league-wide, they had fans out at Wofford College, and kind of the first time that they really kind of ramped things up, and Sam Darnold apparently wasn't sharp. So that's going to lead people to question of like, oh, man, did they make a mistake? It's like, let's sit back and wait. Because last season, I was never I never thought Teddy Bridgewater was going to be the franchise quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. I don't think anyone really involved in the fan base thought the same thing either. But early on, the returns when they start off 3-2 were pretty good. And I'm seeing headlines being like, Teddy Bridgewater is the right guy here in Carolina. But then we get to November, December, and it's saying Teddy Bridgewater running out of time to prove he's a franchise quarterback. Then the next week headline, the Panthers need to find a new quarterback. So we can do this the first couple weeks and say, oh, this guy is right or this guy is wrong. And you can see the season play out and then find out actually this guy wasn't that dude in the first place. So instead of having week one freak out against the Jets, however that plays out, let's wait until maybe, the second part of the season, get to like weeks 11 and 12, and then we can maybe make a better educated opinion on whether Sam Darnold is the right quarterback here in Carolina. So let's just do that before freaking out right now.
It's an important PSA for your listeners, Carolina fans. It's just one of those things. You're going to ride that emotional roller coaster otherwise. Julian Coucil, Locked On Panthers, joins us here on the Locked On NFL podcast at Julian Coucil on Twitter. You can find more great tweets there. So With all that being said, I'm going to ask you a pretty loaded question as far as who's more important to the success of this Carolina Panthers offense that needs to take a step in the right direction this year under offensive coordinator Joe Brady and second-year coach Matt Rule. Who's more important, Christian McCaffrey, who was limited to 3 games last season, staying healthy, or Sam Darnold establishing himself as a starting caliber quarterback?
It's got to be Christian McCaffrey. The guy's already proven himself to be an all-pro player in the National Football League. What he's like 97 rating on Madden for people who care about stuff like that. Like the last time the dude was healthy, back in 2019, he had 1,000 yards receiving, 1,000 yards rushing. Only 2 other guys have done that in the history of the NFL: Roger Craig and Marshall Faulk. Where are those guys? In Canton, right? I'm pretty sure. So yeah. You already know how good of a running back he is when he's healthy. And last season, you can't tell me that Teddy Bridgewater would not have performed better had Christian McCaffrey been healthy for all 16 games. I'm not sitting here to tell you that Teddy Bridgewater should have been the quarterback here in Carolina, should still be here, but he would have had far more success had he had Christian McCaffrey next to him. And for Sam Darnold, it's not necessarily about him going out here and being a 4,000-yard passer and throwing 40 touchdowns and all that. It's really about him managing the offense and taking what the defense gives him. When you have guys like Christian McCaffrey out there, you have Robbie Anderson, you have DJ Moore, you bring in Dan Arnold, who you know of in Arizona, to hopefully be some sort of a red zone threat at tight end. Yeah. It's not really the pressure's all on him. There's plenty of guys on this roster to help you make plays, which he did not have in the first 3 years of his career up in New York with the Jets.
Yeah, you know what? I'm also intrigued by this defense. They were abysmal in 2019. They took a step forward last year. They added Hassan Reddick, who I'm familiar with covering him in Arizona for 4 seasons, 12 and a half sacks. He performed in a contract year after they declined his option. Denzel Perryman comes over from the Chargers. And then the first defender off the board in the NFL draft, J.C. Horn. Do you expect this defense to take a step forward in 2021?
Yeah, I thought last year for me, I never expected them to be really good. Like they had that stretch where they're going up against former Super Bowl MVPs or MVPs of the league, like Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees, and they really struggled. And even Nick Foles, they struggled during that period of time. But then as you got later on to the season against the Lions, they shut them out against Matt Stafford, who's now with the LA Rams. They had a really good game in the second half against Green Bay on that Saturday night where they frustrated Aaron Rodgers. They started playing a lot better down the stretch. Now you add in guys like Hassan Reddick, where I'm questioning last year was a contract year. Was he lying to us, or is that really who he is? Now he's here with his former college DC and college head coach, and Bill Snow, the DC, and Matt Rule, the head coach. So maybe that's a better environment for him than the last couple seasons in Arizona. I don't know. We'll find out. Adding Morgan Fox also, who played next to Aaron Donald last year and had 6 sacks to the Rams. That helps. Daquan Jones, who's been a solid starter at offensive tackle the last couple seasons for a Titans team that's really turned around and become a perennial playoff team. Adding him to help out Derek Brown. And you got Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns on opposite sides. You bring in A.J. Boye, a former Pro Bowler who didn't have a great season in Denver last year, but still has been a pretty good player in this league. Dante Jackson also to go in the same secondary with J.C. Horn, so you're not asking him day one to kind of be that guy, which and oftentimes Carolina Panthers have asked their young cornerbacks day one, like, hey, we don't really have any depth, so you need to be the number one guy. That's not the case with this team right now. So I feel really good about this, what this defense could be. And I didn't even bring up Jeremy Chin, who is the most versatile player on this defense and arguably should have been the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year had Chase Young, number 2 pick, not done Chase Young things.
Sure. No doubt about it. As I said, intriguing defense. Will it perform? Yeah, lots of questions as Julian outlined there. That's what you got to tune in each and every day to Locked On Panthers to hear the latest on what's going on in Charlotte and Spartanville as far as their Spartansville, right? South Carolina, where they're training these.
Spartanburg.
I apologize.
Sparkle City, man. Sparkle City.
Sparkle City. Make sure you're following on Twitter at Julian Coucil and listen to Locked On Panthers on a daily basis. Julian, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, Bo, anytime.